up, everybody? This is Damron with Trash Ass Gamers, bringing you another Elder Scrolls Online guide. This is for Veteran Maelstrom Arena, which is a solo arena, and we're going to be running this as a Stamina Nightblade. Maelstrom Arena is found in the northeastern portion of Hrothgar, which is near the Daggerfall Covenant region of Tamriel. Again, we're running as a Stamina Nightblade, which tends to be, or is the difficult, if not the most difficult class to run Maelstrom Arena with, because we really don't have a way to heal that well as a Stamina Nightblade, and we certainly don't have shields. So really, we're relying on potions, vigor, and our leeching strikes. So run through the skills that we're going to be running. We have obviously a bow bar with endless hail, rearming trap, poison injection, caltrops, leeching strikes, and I'm going to run the ultimate incapacitating strike, which is good for the bosses throughout this dungeon. On our dual wielding bar, we're obviously needing vigor. That's a must-have. Killer Blade is a nice execution. It's probably the best one for this class. Deadly Cloak is good. Surprise Attack. We definitely want Deadly Cloak though, because that's going to protect us from AoE damage, which is a pretty big part of this arena. Relentless Focus is very good. It's going to not only give us an increase to damage done and stamina recovery, which is going to be huge, but every 5 light attacks we're going to be able to hit with the Spectral Bow, which is very nice. And then you need to have your Dawnbreaker ultimate on this bar. Not only is it great for multiple enemies in the area, but obviously when it's slotted, we get the extra 5% weapon damage base right there. So that's huge. So that's the skills I'm going to run. Again, it's a very difficult dungeon to run as a Stamina Nightblade, so we really need to learn the mechanics of this dungeon, and that's what we're going to be doing here. We're going to talk about the entire arena and go through each stage. And basically, if you haven't seen any of these videos before, I will kind of fast forward through the ad portions, the first kind of few rounds of each stage to kind of minimize the length of the video, and we'll basically focus on the bosses within the arena. Alright, so we're going to head through the door and we're going to head to the first stage, which is the Vale of the Surreal. And this is a pretty easy stage. You're not going to have too much difficulty with this stage, so while we're blasting through the first 3 stages prior to the boss stage, let's talk a few things about the arena itself that you need to know. First thing is that there's sigils, and the sigils are going to spawn at every round, so feel free to use them. They're very, very good. The power sigil looks like a hammer, and that's going to give you more DPS. Very effective if you grab this right before you're going against those bosses, or kind of the mini bosses in the earlier rounds of each stage. The haste is great. Not only is it going to make you faster, this is also going to give you a boost to your sustain, your resources. So if you're low on resources, you can grab that and you're going to see a little boost to that as you're moving around. The chalice symbol is a health, which is great. It's going to help you maintain health, and it is very, very, very effective, and will help you heal through many situations. Very OP. My favorite sigil is the defense sigil, which is really great. Not only does it boost your defense, but it's also going to negate a lot of damage and reflect almost all range attacks. So it's very effective, and you know you're not running a score round. There's really no reason to just not grab this at the beginning of every round. A few tips: turn your AoE indicator to bright pink. It's going to help you see those, as you saw there. Those conical attacks are bright pink. And we'll get back to some basic tips as we're running up the first boss of the first area here, which is Maxis the Mini. Maxis the Mini is actually very, very easy. The easiest boss probably in the entire arena. So it's basically a DPS race. Avoid that little AoE that's kind of floating around the room and the AoE that he generates on the ground, and you're not going to really have any difficulty. If you are, you can go ahead and grab some of the sigils to help you. But again, this fight is not too difficult. Just DPS him down. The ads that spawn in can heal him sometimes, but again, you really shouldn't have too much difficulty with this fight. If you are, you probably need to get a little stronger, because again, the arena gets much, much more difficult. So we're going to enter the second portion of the arena, the Seht balcony, which has a few interesting things we talk about. But as we're cleaning up the ads in the first few stages, let's talk about a few little extra tidbits to help you guys out. So we talked about turning the AoE indicator to bright pink. Also, zoom your field of vision as far back as possible. You definitely want to be able to see as much of the arena as possible at all times. And again, you need to know that there's nothing easy about this dungeon, okay? There's a lot of elemental things that are going to kill you, so really, experience is the key. A lot of the times it's not even the enemies that are going to kill you, it's going to be the environment within each stage. So you really need to learn those, and we're going to discuss all those moving forward, but again, don't get frustrated. If you're getting frustrated, just put the controller down, and we'll come back later. And again, there's no harm in grabbing the sigils. These sigils are very powerful, so grab those every round. They're going to respawn every single round. So, Seht's balcony. As you can see, we have these kind of spinning blades traveling all throughout the arena, and honestly they can do quite a bit of damage, and there's switches on the outer portion of the arena, and if you flip those switches it'll stop them momentarily. And the center of the arena has this ground lightning kind of going off pretty much all the time, and you need to kind of stay off that. It doesn't do a lot of damage, but if you just stand there, obviously it will. So you kind of want to stay out of the center, but don't focus too much on going to the switches. Just kind of hit them as you can, because if you focus too much on the switches, then you're not really going to be paying attention to the spinning blades. If you roll dodge as one's near you, you won't take damage from it. So that's not too bad. Again, the spinning blades and the environment of the Seht's balcony, to me, is the most dangerous part of this stage. And then after we finish the first 3 rounds, we're going to enter the boss fight, which is Centurion Champion times 3. There's 3 of them. This is actually not too bad. Again, what's really going to end your reign is the not paying attention to those spinning blades. So really what you need to do is worry about the ground slam that they do. That's the only attack that really is going to do significant amount of damage to you other than the environment. The conical attack they do is easily avoided, and really you just need to roll dodge the ground slam. They're going to stand and start shooting kind of sparks up into the sky, which will come down as AoEs on you, but you have plenty of time to get out of those AoEs, and if you have your AoE indicator to bright pink, you really shouldn't have any problem noticing when those attacks are coming. Now, as you do damage to one, eventually it will squat down, as you see, and when they're squatted down, they basically have a shield, and you can't really do too much damage to them. So you want to focus on the one that's standing up, and honestly, you want to kind of get them as grouped all together as you can, so you're not really floating around the arena. And if you're getting near the end of the fight and you're kind of running low on resources, because this can be a resource intense battle, grab that haste sigil. The haste sigil is going to help boost your recovery, or your stamina recovery. And then also the defense sigil and the power sigil, just go ahead and grab all those up to finish this fight, because this can be a little difficult because it can drag out because they're kind of squatting down and you can't really do the damage to them that you want to. So let's take them out and we'll move on to the next part of the arena. Alright, so we're moving on to the next portion of Maelstrom Arena, the Drome of Toxic Shock, but as we're progressing through the first few stages of that arena, we'll talk a little bit about the lore of Maelstrom Arena, because it's actually quite interesting. So we picked up the quest from Lord Von Newton, who is the closest thing to an academic in the sense of Daedric terms, but he was an excellent source of knowledge to the Mages Guild battle mages who studied in Daedric magic mastery. And the Maelstrom Arena is a prime example of a fabricated realm, which closely relate to pocket realms, of which we visit many in the game, including the Dragonstar Arena and the Endless War, which is located at the Cliffs of Failure in Cold Harbor. And basically these Daedric pocket realms serve a myriad of purposes, either to be a prison or a hiding place or an arena in special circumstances, sort of like what we are here, but the essence of a Daedric pocket realm is that it's always controlled by its creator, which makes it very different than Clockwork City, because Clockwork City was created with the sole purpose of studying life and fabrication, and Clockwork City ended up becoming much more than a pocket realm because it began to forge its own creations and have moods that even the Tribune couldn't control. control. So the Sill didn't even expect this outcome, but he was pleasantly surprised by it, and Clockwork City became its own entity. In the sense of Maelstrom Arena, it's basically a prime example of these fabricated realms because it's a collection of vastly intelligent and exotic creatures from the lands of Nirn and the realms of Daedra, but it's also a proving ground, and it was created with both war and beauty in mind. The beauty in the sense of the collection of the variety of creatures, and the war in the sense that all these creatures in the arena are set up to destroy you, the challenger. So it's a proving ground for us, our intellect, and our brute strength. So very cool. Alright, so let's get back into this particular arena, and again, as most of the arenas in this dungeon, the hazard or area hazard is your biggest threat. Don't stand on the water too long because sometimes that can get electrified, so really just kind of move mound to mound during the fight. And with the mobs, you're definitely going to focus on the ranged mobs first, but remember that defense sigil is going to be able to deflect their range attacks, so you can always grab that and kind of burn it down as you're moving on to the final boss, which is the Lamia Queen. The boss in this fight's pretty easy. Don't try to be fancy, really, and run around and kind of attack all the ads. Just kind of pick up those sigils, especially the hammer. Get that DPS. Pick up the recovery sigil, the health sigil. Just go ahead and grab all that and maintain your focus on the boss because the ads will die when she dies. If you're running around the map trying to focus on the ads, that's what's going to get you in trouble. You know, that defense sigil that I just grabbed there makes it be so I don't even need to worry about those ranged attacks because I'm just deflecting all of that damage. Just maintain your focus on the Lamia Queen because she doesn't have that much health, and you'll basically burn her down, and all the other ads in the arena will go down with it. So burst her down, and let's get moving on to the next portion of Vet Maelstrom. Alright, so the next arena we're going to be entering is Seht's Flywheel, which it consists of 3 rounds and then the boss phase. An important thing about Seht's Flywheel that you need to know are the sentries that kind of spawn in throughout the fight. They're these small little sentries that will kind of spawn and move to the center portion of the arena, and you need to kind of kill them prior to them making it, because if they get there they'll kind of enter this almost impenetrable state and kind of do lightning attacks on you, and you won't be able to kill them until they kind of drop their shields. But definitely don't waste your energy while they're in that kind of impenetrable state, because you're just going to waste your time and your resources. So keep that in mind. Simply, they'll be spawning throughout the entire portion of you being in Seht's Flywheel. They're not necessarily related to rounds specifically, they just, you know, kind of continuously spawn. And don't forget about your sigils. There is a mini boss at the end of the 3rd round who is Kothhide, and he can chain you in, and he also keeps a fiery AoE on him, so that can cause damage because he'll chain you in and kind of bring you onto this fiery AoE. So certainly if you're a vampire, that's going to be problematic, but if you're just, you know, if you're kind of a normal player and you're not in a vampiric state, it's probably not going to cause too much damage to you because you can kind of roll dodge out of it. So you see here, he is right here. Kothhide, you'll see him chain me in right there, and then sometimes he'll generate that flame AoE. But he's not really too bad, you know. You know, you can see the AoE around his feet right there, so he doesn't have too much health. Once you burn him down, you're going to enter the final phase, which is the Control Guardian, and this guy is super easy if you know how to do it. And he's got 2 phases. One is which you'll have this kind of green AoE below his feet. That means you need to stay below his feet, because if you go outside of it, you're going to be getting hit by lightning attacks. But if you just stay within the AoE, then you're going to avoid that damage. Grab the power sigil when you go past it, grab the other sigils when you go past it, and then when that green AoE goes away, he's going to start basically shooting fire down beneath him, so that now you need to stay away. And he's also going to kind of shoot some fire AoEs at you, but you still, you know, you can't be under him because that will kill you very fast. You know, you can roll dodge out of the fire AoEs that he shoot. But this is super easy. Basically, green, stand underneath him. When it's not green, stay away and continue to damage him, and you'll have no problem with that dungeon. And so we're rolling up onto the Rink of Frozen Blood, and the Rink of Frozen Blood is where this arena starts to get difficult, especially for a Stam Nightblade. Again, this is one of the most difficult classes to run this with because it's such a resource-intense arena, and you're solo, right? And you're trying to heal, and Vigor certainly takes a lot of our stamina away. But this is probably, one of the most difficult arenas in Maelstrom Arena, and we'll talk about why as we're moving forward. But this is going to consist of 4 rounds, so we've now gone up from 3 to 4, and then we'll have our boss fight after that. The main things that you need to worry about in this arena are the ranged ice attacks that are coming from some of the ads. Those can kill you really fast, and those need to be your priority. Basically, bursting them down is always your #1 priority. If you see a guy shooting ice attacks at you from a distance, or these Huntsman Hurtfinders, basically all these ranged attack guys you need to take down ASAP. And again, grab that defense sigil to help you out with that damage, because the defense sigil is obviously going to deflect that damage, and you're not going to have to worry about it as much. The second thing you need to know is about these 3 platforms. You can't really stand in the water for very long because that will kill you. You'll kind of freeze to death. And these ice platforms there's 3 of them, and throughout the rounds, trolls will spawn in and they'll start bashing on the ice, and if they bash for too long, they'll destroy the ice, and they'll have that kind of red glowing part to them, which means you can interrupt it, which you see there. Go up there and bash them, and you can interrupt them from breaking the ice, because if they break the ice, that's going to cause a problem. You're going to lose that platform. However, it will regenerate when the next round starts. But you certainly don't want to have to mess with, them destroying a bunch of ice. So take them out. Now I'm going to go ahead and slow down round 4 to normal pace, because this round can be quite difficult. And it's because you're going to have 2 large ogres that come in, and they do a lot of damage, but they're slow. So Vigi's coming in first, but as you can see, I really took down one of those Chillbanes first, right? They're always your priority. You want to take them out, and then certainly grab a sigil to help you with the next phase. And then after that, you're going to get some limiteds, and they kind of also throw some ice attacks at you. So it's these ranged attacks that are going to cause a lot of damage to you in the 4th round of the Rink of Frozen Blood. So make sure you're doing that. And I like to go ahead and get through the first 2 set of ads before I grab the defense and the power sigil in this 4th round, because you're going to have these Auroral Guardians come in, as well as another ogre, boar, and basically now that I have the defense sigil, I don't have to worry about the range attacks coming from that Chill Fiend, which I killed anyway, but I pick those up in the power, and I can finish off that round pretty easily. Now the boss is pretty tough. You need to make sure you can break free of your fear attack, so you're not stuck out in the water. The Matriarch Runa can do that, so make sure you have some stamina to break free if that ever happens. And you don't want to get caught thinking about just DPS, because if you do too much DPS, that can actually hurt you, because the boss destroys ice pads based on how much damage has been done to her. So once she hits around below 70, she's going to destroy an ice pad. So what you don't want to happen is a troll destroy an ice pad. If a troll destroys an ice pad, you're screwed, because the Matriarch will definitely kill 2 prior to you getting to her, last bit of health. So if a troll kills 1, then you're going to be left with 0 ice pads for the last portion of the fight, and you're definitely going to die. So if you see a troll, that needs to be your priority. And again, grab that defense sigil near the end. I like to go ahead and wait until I finish the first 2 ice pads with the Matriarch before I grab it, because now when the Matriarch comes down here, I can just completely ignore all these range attacks and focus my damage on finishing the boss off, presuming that you have stamina. Again, this is resource and heavy, so you're going to be able to deflect that, but you can do some heavy attacks, get your resources down, and then execute the Matriarch to finish that fight. So that's a pretty difficult fight. Also, definitely save that defense sigil, this platform here, for the last platform you go to, because you definitely want to grab that defense sigil at the very end of that portion. So let's move on to Spiral Shadows. So we're on to the 6th arena, which consists of 4 rounds and then a boss round. And honestly, I think, rounds 5 and 6 are much more difficult than rounds 7 and 8. So if you get through the ice rink and you can get through this, you're actually going to you know, you're going to be able to do this. I mean, clearly the last round is the hardest, but you know, this is a pretty difficult round too. And one of the things you need to take note about in this are these, basically these pillars kind of going around the outside of the arena, and you see the middle one that's glowing. And throughout the arena, you're going to have these horvers spawn. And if you kill a horver close to one of those pillars that have web on it, it will destroy the web on it, and now it'll be de-webbed. And then also web spinners will spawn in, and the web spinners will try to put webs back onto the pillars. And you need to keep these pillars open as much as possible, because periodically small spiders will spawn throughout the arena, and then you have to stand next to one of the pillars that is lit up to protect you from those spiders. And if you don't have any that are de-webbed, you won't be able to stand anywhere. As you see here, a swarm attack is coming, so you have to go next to a lit up pillar. If you don't do that, then you're basically automatically dead. And if there's, you know, only one pillar that's de-webbed, sometimes there won't be one with any light, and you're kind of stuck and you're screwed. And also an extra thing to take note about with the pillars is that if you simultaneously de-web all 5 pillars at the same time, then basically they'll all kind of glow and stun every enemy on the map, which will actually take advantage of in the boss fight. And periodically they'll be down and won't be doing anything, upon which the 4 on the outside will get covered in web again, and the middle one will remain free. So just keep all that in mind. Your main priority in these ad phases is really those horvers. You know, definitely pay attention to where they're at. Get your pillars de-webbed. Alright, so we're moving up on the 4th round here, and this is what I want you to kind of take note of. And you're really only going to get one shot at this. If you fail at this, then you're not going to be able to do it. You're going to basically have to start the boss wave over, and you're not going to be able to do this method I show you. But basically in the 4th round, what you want to do is set it up to where you de-web the very last pillar at the very end of the round, so that when the boss spawns in, she instantly gets stunned, and you can almost essentially kill her and avoid all of her mechanics. And I'll talk about her mechanics if you can't do that. But again, so you're going to see me hold off here. I'm waiting, and I'm going to throw this venomous sac over at the last pillar. Boom, they're all going to light up. And I'm going to stun the boss, the champion of atrocity, and I'm essentially just going to kill her right here. You know, I'm going to take her so low that I can basically avoid all of her attacks. So let me talk about what you need to do if you can't do this. So if you die, then you're going to start the round basically with only the center pillar open. And your main priority at that point is going to be focusing on the horvers to despawn the webs on the pillars, and focusing on any web spinners that spawn and killing them before they put any web back on the pillars. Because your whole goal in this fight, if you don't start it the way that I did, is to activate all 5 pillars, and you have to do that as soon as possible to stun her and clear her, because if you don't stun her in about 2 minutes, she will basically insta-kill you, and there's really nothing you can do about it. So in this fight, if you can't start it the way that I did, remember your #1 priority is de-webbing the pillars and killing the web spinners so they don't put web back on the pillars, and get all 5 activated and then kill her. And, you know, I was able to essentially kill her right in the beginning, which makes it, you know, much easier. But that is a difficult thing to do. So take that with a grain of salt. So moving on to the next arena, Arena 7, which is the Vault of Umbrage, which consists of 4 rounds and then a boss round. And this is the most RNG portion of the Maelstrom Arena, because of these, you know, hazard, again, the arena hazards are going to be killing you in this particular arena. And it's these plants that kind of spawn around the arena, and if you get too close to them, they generate a very large AoE and explode. And they're going to hit you with a lot of poison damage, which you saw me die from there, as I was actually finishing the round. Now, if you do get hit by it, there are these 2 pools of water on the edge of the arena that you can cleanse yourself, which you're seeing right there on the screen. But you got to be getting over there very fast to cleanse yourself, because the poison will kill you in about 2 or 3 ticks, depending on how much health you have. But you know, it's sometimes just unavoidable. You know, you're in a fight that's behind you, you can't see it, or even one of the plants is at an enemy's feet, you can't see it. So there's definitely a lot of RNG throughout this dungeon, and it can be kind of frustrating as you're playing it. And then also you see these kind of 4 circles around the edge of the map, that basically if there's an enemy that spawns on that guy will constantly make the plants explode. So if you see a guy spawning on those little, you know, circles, which you're seeing here, there's a guy basically making that explode. But you see that little circle with all the candles around it, that guy will continuously make plants come in and explode all the plants on the map. So you definitely want to kill those guys as soon as they spawn if you see them. And you know, it's kind of random when they spawn in. You just kind of have to pay attention. Now the venom shot guys, the ranged archers that spawn throughout the ads, are kind of the most dangerous ad, because if you let them stay in the fight for too long, they'll do a charged arrow. So that's the guy that's making the plants explode there. You want to kill him. But the arrow guys, they'll do a charged arrow attack that if you let them pull that off, that's probably going to one-shot you unless you're like a tank. So keep that in mind. The final round, the Argonian Behemoth, is actually pretty easy if you know the strategy. When he spawns in, just go ahead and damage him as much as possible. And he's pretty slow, so you can kite him pretty easily. And then basically he's going to spawn 2 ads in. You're going to go ahead and just burst one of them down and then run to the other one, because what he's going to do, the Behemoth's going to start screaming. He's going to kind of start shouting up in the air. And the other ad is going to create this, basically this shield that you need to stand under. So you definitely don't want to kill both of the ads, because if you kill both of them then you're screwed. You won't be able to get the protection. And the scream will definitely kill you, and there's nothing you can do about it. So you're going to see him screaming here, and I'm going to run into this Argonian Mender shield to basically be protected from his scream. And then when his scream ends, I'll go ahead and kill that ad real quick and then do more damage to the Argonian, and he'll eventually spawn 2 more, and you basically rinse and repeat, and you'll be able to finish this boss off no problem. And we'll be moving on to Arena 8. Alright, so moving on to the 8th arena of Maelstrom Arena, we're getting very close to finishing this. This is the Igneus Cistern, which consists of 4 rounds and then a boss round. This arena is not really too bad, and the big key to really getting through this is having really good DPS, which can make this a cakewalk, and then obviously utilizing the sigils, because you're having a lot of these flame guys shoot these flame balls at you, but as long as you're picking up the defense sigil, you're going to be able to deflect all of that damage. So you're really going to be able to have no problems. Now throughout the early stages, you're going to have these infernal destroyers spawn, and you're going to notice that you can't really do damage to them. They have these shields, and that's because you're going to see these pillars throughout the era. You know, there's 3 of them, and they're going to be on the edge of the maps, and it's random which one will spawn. But while that is active, those kind of lurcher type enemies will be protected. So you're going to see here this warding stone. You go kill the warding stone, and then you'll be able to damage the lurchers. So also keep in mind, just grabbing those defense sigils are going to make those ranged enemies basically joke fest, and you're going to be able to kill those mobs really without taking any damage. So let's go ahead and burst forward, and we'll talk when we get to the boss. so we're rolling up on the final boss, which honestly I think is one of the easiest bosses in the game, Valken Tefra, and all 3 warding stones are going to be active now. And I actually messed this up because I killed one of the last warding stones and didn't realize that I killed it, so I kind of missed the stun phase. But essentially what you want to do is destroy all 3 pillars, and you're going to be able to stun her and do damage to her. And you're going to want to basically, take out the pillars and then do as much damage as possible. So see, I actually killed that warding stone over there with an AoE, and I didn't realize I killed it. So when I go back to her, she basically immediately comes out of her stun phase, and I kind of missed being able to do DPS on her there. So I have to actually do an extra round. Generally, you want to be able to do this in 2 rounds of taking out the warding stones, because the longer that this fight goes on, then more Dromora spawn in, and they're going to be tossing their ranged attacks at you, the flame attacks, as well as some flame Atronachs are going to spawn in. So the longer that the fight progresses, the more adds that you got to deal with. So as long as you're doing it in 2 phases, it really shouldn't be too much of a problem for you. I would have been able to finish this fight off here had I really been paying attention in the beginning, but it shows you kind of how easy this fight is. Even though I messed it up and I have to do 3 phases, I'm still able to do it, pretty effortlessly, especially if you're grabbing the sigils. So really, just focus on taking down the wards and then do your damage, rinse and repeat. Again, it's pretty easy fight. I think this is one of the easiest fights. They maybe gave us a break prior to the final phase. So just finish her up and we'll get moving.
Such brutality!
Alright, so moving on to the final portion of Maelstrom Arena, the Theater of Dispair and Voryak Sulkin himself. So this is a very difficult arena, and you guys are going to die a lot throughout not only the final boss, but just throughout the early, stages. This is the first and final, arena that has very, very difficult ad stages. So let's talk about a few things that are going on. And number one is the ghosts that you see. They're kind of just roaming around throughout the map, and basically if you touch those ghosts, they're going to do, quite a bit of damage to them. So you really need to pay attention and stay away from those ghosts. The other type of ghost that you're going to see periodically is a golden ghost. Those ghosts you want to run into, and you want to run into as fast as you can, because if they run into an enemy, it'll make that enemy stronger. However, if you collect 3 of them, you'll be able to use your synergy Y+B and stun any enemy that's on the map. So it's actually really helpful for us to continue to pick those up. And in fact, anytime you see a gold ghost, prioritize getting that over anything else. Another thing that we're going to want to talk about are the ads, because honestly, the ads can certainly kill you. And the biggest threat to your survival are the crematorium guards. You must kill them first, and you have to learn to be able to take them down pretty quickly to finish this fight. They're going to do their fire breathing attack, which can really cause a significant amount of damage, and you really kind of want to kite that damage, kind of run around in a circle as they're doing that to avoid taking that damage, because if you're, slow with the kill and taking that, you're also taking some ranged attack from some people, you're going to be in trouble pretty quickly. So we'll talk about specifically round 4, because this has an interesting aspect. You're seeing this kind of Daedric symbol in the middle of the map, the Oblivion symbol actually, and these summoners are walking towards it. And if enough of them walk towards it, they will kind of cast their spell on it. And if you don't kill them fast enough, they're actually going to summon a Bone Colossus. And you really want to avoid that from happening. So pay attention as they're walking down from the edge of the map, and be sure you're killing them before they get to that middle area. Because if that Bone Colossus spawns, it makes round 4 very, very difficult, and you're probably going to wipe. So the main focus of round 4 is taking out those summoners before before they get to the middle. So round five is also going to have a little mini boss. You're going to get a Ash Titan to spawn about halfway through the round, and you want to kill him as fast as possible because if you take too long, the round will also spawn an Ogre in, and having both of them active at the same time can be a little bit troublesome. So take down that Ash Titan again, grab your sigils to help you out, and kind of make quick work of that, and then we'll be moving on to the final fight, Voryak Sulkin himself. And you have to accept that Voryak's going to go beast mode on you several times. It's a very unforgiving fight, especially as a Stam Blade. This is a very resource intense fight, and you're going to have a lot of time just keeping your resources. So Voryak Sulkin is going to start in the middle, and you really want to burn him as fast as possible because once you get him to 70%, it's going to enter his second phase. And there's two things you need to know about the first part when he's down here, and that's the attacks he can do. When he teleports, you'll see him kind of charge up, and he's going to be launching skulls at you. And if you don't get over to and interrupt him as quickly as possible, those skulls are definitely going to hurt you pretty rapidly. The other thing he'll do when he teleports is an AoE, and you just need to step out of that AoE. But once you get him below 70%, he's going to spawn up top, and we're going to enter the crystal phase. And the way that we get up top is by killing a Clanfear next to this activated portal, again with the Oblivion symbol on it. And when you do that, you'll be able to go upstairs. And when you go upstairs, you're going to see these 3 crystals. And what we need to do, we can't really damage Voryak himself right now. What we need to focus on is taking out the crystals. And he's going to do a couple attacks. The first thing he's going to do is going to launch skulls at you, so you need to keep your vision on him, because if he hits you with those skulls, it's likely going to knock you back and probably knock you off of the top stage itself. So you see that skull that came at me there that I roll dodged. Now, the second thing he's going to do eventually is he'll kind of start screaming. He'll kind of look up, and you're going to see this wall floating around the inner portion of the top crystal area. You see it across the way there. And when he reaches the end of his scream, if you're not behind that wall, he'll scream and knock you off the map. At which point, if that happens, you're going to need to kill a Clanfear next to a portal again so you can get back up and take out the crystals. Again, the main priority of that entire phase is to take out the 3 crystals as fast as possible to get down. And as you noticed, I didn't grab any of the sigils yet. I don't like to grab any of the sigils until I hit this final phase, at which point I grab all of them. And the main reason for that is because we just want to kill Voryak as quickly as possible. Once we get back down low, the longer you take to kill him, the more difficult this is going to be. He's going to start spawning the crematorium guards in. He's going to be doing his attacks again. Maintain focus on him. When he does a skull attack, roll dodge. If he does the big AoE, make sure you get out of it. And if he does his charge attack, you need to interrupt that. So the main part about when you get back down low is just killing him as quickly as possible. And again, this is a difficult fight, guys, especially as a Stam Nightblade. You're going to have a lot of time maintaining resources. It's a very intense fight on your stamina, so you're going to have to work on your rotation. Your DPS may slow down a bit, but that's okay. Just make sure you're understanding what's killing you. You're definitely going to die several times from things until you learn what exactly is killing you and from where that attack is coming from. So I hope this guide helped you guys out. This is a difficult dungeon to run as a Stam Blade. That's why we made this video. I hope it was helpful for you. If you like our videos, you like our style, feel free to like and subscribe here by clicking our logo. And then also here on the bottom left of the screen, you can see our ESO playlist. We have basically a lot of the veteran dungeons done there to help you guys out. So if you like our videos, again, feel free to like and subscribe, and we'll see you guys next time.